Welcome back to the Golf for 10 show. Obviously, round 24 is done. There is one more round left. We're going to pop up the ladder on the board. We'll give you a quick look. It's Panthers first on 42 points, Sharks on 36, Cowboys on 34, Storm on 32, Eels on 32, the Roosters and the Rabbits on 30, and the Raiders have sneaked into the top 8 with one round to go on 28. The Broncos just outside on 28, the Dragons 24, the Sea Eagles 20, the Bulldogs, Knights, and Warriors on 14, the Titans on 12, and the Tigers look like they're about to add a wooden spoon to the center of excellence. So let's hope there is a kitchen in there. Now, Baxter, before we move obviously into the preview show, mate, how are you going? And obviously welcome once again.
Oh, it's good, mate. The weather's warming up. I've got my nice little polo on here, and I'm ready for the summertime, which is finals time for us.
All right, well, we'll jump straight into it. Obviously, there were some cracking games. There were some games that didn't really have much to do with the finals, but then obviously there were some games that could cause a bit of worry, and we'll jump straight into one that could cause a bit of a worry. It was the Broncos 6, the Eels 53. Now, you've got the possession, the completions, the errors, the meters. It's all quite even besides obviously the possession and run meters. What was your take on this game, and was this the Eels being really, really good come finals time, or was just a hopeless Broncos getting smacked for the second straight week?
I think it's a bit of both here. Obviously, you had 7 Cobbo pull out due to tiredness, which is fair enough. It's his rookie year. Can't play every game. Parramatta looked really good. They wanted to sort of stamp themselves in a top 4 position, and they do this this Thursday night against the Melbourne Storm, so it'll be really good. And then, Brisbane, just the head noise that's going around about players being soft. And I don't know about you, but I've been sitting in dressing rooms where I've heard a lot worse from coaches, and it's made me want to rebound and perform more next week, and then sit and sulk about it. So it's a bit of a touchy subject for the Broncos, but hopefully for the Parramatta Eels, I did say that they were here to make numbers for the final 8. I'm still sticking with it. And, Yeah,
100%. Obviously, for the Eels, I guess, even though the opposition wasn't good, we spoke about this when the Roosters played the Tigers. You want to be scoring points. You want to be going through your motion. And they could have easily rolled over here and won this game 20-0, 20-6, and not had to worry about what was going on. But they kept going. They kept putting on the points. An interesting fact, the last 10 premiers, obviously, throughout the season have put on at least 50 points once in a game. So if you're going by stats, the Eels are now in contention to lift the trophy.
No, don't even bring it up. No.
You've also got to rule out Penrith if you go by that stats. But obviously, like you said, Cobbo did rule himself out through tiredness. Now, I think that's more Brisbane protecting him. I think there might be something else going on. It might just be tired, but there might be something else going on in the background. So hopefully, if there is something going on, he's getting the help that he needs. But I look at this squad. I look at him complaining since Walters blew him up post-game. And this is a team now that has lost 53-6 against, obviously, the Eels. The week before, they got an absolutely walloping 60-12. They've thrown away their top 8 chance. It's no longer in their control. I guess we'll get onto it when we talk about the Raiders, but I just think it's a soft mental mentality here where the Raiders were like, we're going to take each game as it comes and we're going to win. So before we talk about it, before we jump into the preview, have you put your line for Brisbane?
Yeah, the last 2 weeks, you're conceding about 110 points over 2 games. Round 19, they're sitting top 4, and now we're one week out, and they're sitting outside the top 8. It's been a dramatic effect. Obviously, you lose Pat Carrigan and Adam Reynolds. I don't know if he's sort of the buy of the year now, because he had that sort of golden period after he come back. Played really well, and then he sort of disappeared for a bit. So I don't know. I think it's a bit of everything. Nothing's really clicking for when things are down. So maybe next year they have a better season.
100%. Obviously, I don't think he can be by the round if they don't make finals football. I think they had to make top 4. I think you're looking towards potentially a Nico Hines, something like that. Obviously, there is your halfbacks who have come in, but we'll have to see. Obviously, we'll find out in a few weeks. But jumping on to, obviously, the first Friday night game, it was the Panthers 46, the Warriors 12. Now, you look at possession, 54-46. You look at the completion rate, 84-82. The errors 8, 9. The run meters are the only thing that really stands out here is a massive difference. Now,
yeah,
this was a game where I think it was in the balance. Reece Walsh opened up the game really well with an absolute brilliant try, getting on the end of that. They went up 6-0.
yeah.
They were in this game until To'o obviously got his double, leading into the halftime interval. It then blew out 46-12. That's what a good Penrith side can do to you. They're still waiting to welcome back, obviously, Nathan Cleary. What were your thoughts on this game, and what's next for the Warriors?
Well, they showed some signs of life. Obviously, they took it to the premiers, and showed that they have something in them to be reckoned with. But whether or not the new coach Andrew Webster changes a lot or whatever he does, the Warriors just need to build on this. And look, to put 12 points against the Panthers is pretty impressive with how your season's been going. So, not much you can do, but it was a good sort of stepping stone towards the right path for the Warriors here. Panthers, they look shaky at times, but they end up sort of clicking at the right time and put 46 points on the board. So, is what it is, and happy to see them lift the shield. But I'll throw it over to you, Tony. Now, the Panthers CEO, he's come out and slammed the NRL to say winning the minor premiership, which I have in front of me, you only get 200K. I want to put up in the poll: is 200K enough for winning the minor premiership, or should it be more? Well, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think we had a similar discussion about this, and I think it's in relation to everything that happens. I think that it's not enough. Now, 200K by itself, is it enough? Yes. But when you look at, you play the Auckland Nines, you win $350,000 for 2 weekends where you send your reserves. Obviously, it hasn't happened for a while. You win the grand final. I'm not sure the exact figure you get, but I'm pretty sure it's close to what you win for the minor premiership. So, as a whole, I think $200,000 is a crazy amount of money. But when you look at, I guess, what the biggest achievement is, if it wasn't Australia, it's first past the post. So I think $200,000, maybe reverse it around, maybe give the grand final winner $200,000, maybe give the minor premiers a bit more.
Winning the grand final, just had a quick look up, it's 400K.
There you go. So you're doubling it on a one-off game. So I think if you reverse those, you give 400K to the minor premiers, the best team after 25 rounds. The one-off game in the final, you give them 200,000. I think that's kind of what he was trying to get at. But I guess knowing those numbers now, what are your thoughts? Do you think it should be reversed?
I wouldn't say reversed, but more so like maybe give a $500,000 to winning the comp like after the 25 rounds, maybe. We give it more of a incentive, mate. Like, because you being the most consistent side, throughout the whole year, you should earn a lot. Now, I don't know when the last time a team winning the minor premiership has gone on to win the grand final. But I just think that winning that should be up there now. Knowing the figures and having it all out for me.
Well, I can quickly jump in and say the last time was the Roosters in 2018. So it doesn't happen too much, but obviously they did do it. They did hit Cooper Cronk at the time, but obviously enough about Penrith because we've heard about them all year, their arrogance, their winning, this and that. We'll move on to the second game again because it is my boys. I'm going to let you go first. It was the Storm 14 going down to the Roosters 18. I did get this correct. I said the 1-12 to the Roosters. You had gone Melbourne, but an absolutely cracking game. Now, semi-finals football, I guess you could say finals football has come early. What was your take on this? Obviously, there was a few suspensions out of it. There was a few fines chucked out of it. Collins now is out unless the Roosters make the final. Hargraves was given, obviously, a fine. Nelson was given a fine. Munster was cleared for a straight elbow on Semi Walker. So there was a lot of blood. There was a lot of fight. Bradley was knocked out. There's a lot to take out from this game. Looking at those stats, looking at the result, what was your key takeaway?
I'm going to have a sip first, but what a cracking game this was. Now, let's start off. It was your birthday, so happy birthday, Tony. What a great win on your birthday. So I'll give you that.
Thanks, mate.
I loved it in parts. Then I also didn't love it. Obviously, we can talk about it. So the referee sends Jared Hargraves 10 to the bin after warning both captains. The next one's going to the bin. That was fair. Nelson's, I don't know how you talk, he's striking with his elbow down on Suwali. I don't know how he doesn't get 10 in the bin. Then you've got, obviously, you said the Munster thing. Now, a few years ago, that would be ruled under a striking charge. So my issue is now with the match review committee and just having a look at it, right? So since 2015, Nelson Solomona has only served 6 games worth of suspensions, and he's only paid $18,500 worth of fines out of a possible 17 charges.
I love how we sit in a world. Hold on, we sit in a world where Nelson earns enough money that we can say 18,500. Like it's just 18,500.
Well, it's chump change to him with his, minimum $300K contract a year. So it's chump change to him. But let's reverse the roles there. Let's just say it was Jared Hargraves with 17 charges. How many games would he have, with the same charges, how many games would he have been sitting off? I just think that finding players for, dangerous contact or striking or whatever you want to call, is not enough. It's going to hurt players and it's going to hurt coaches when that player is sitting on the sidelines. Now, you could say, like Nelson in the past, I don't know, was it 4 weeks? Like the week before, when he's playing the Warriors, he breaks Josh Curran's two front teeth, and now he had to get them fixed. The week before that, he sort of he's carrying the ball, but he strikes sort of with a bumper like Jared Hargraves does, with that sort of bumper bar in front of him while he's carrying the ball on Cameron Murray. So you could say, oh, Cameron Murray was an accident. Why aren't we charging him for the Josh Curran? And then this happens against Wiley. He served no games out of it. Why isn't the match review committee handing down more and go, okay, first one against Cameron Murray, okay, maybe $3,000. The one against Josh Curran, okay, you're out for 2. Oh, this one, you haven't learnt your lessons? How about 8? That's when you start learning. I think a few players have come out and in support of this, that finding players just doesn't get through their head. Like we had Dale Fudukane, accidental head clash with Stephen Crichton and serves 2 weeks, and he fought it. In retrospect, it was a bit of a weird one, but they put their foot down and said, no, you're going to serve the 2 weeks. And okay, fair. If we want to go down this head clash thing with the concussions and whatnot, why aren't we rubbing out the stuff that's causing this kind of issues? And I just didn't like that part. But overall, it was a great game to watch from a neutral. What about your thoughts, mate? Tell me it all.
Oh, obviously, I think the scoreline, this might sound a bit wrong, seeming that obviously Tedesco did stop them right at the last second from winning this game, but I think this scoreline does flatter Melbourne. I think if Hargraves doesn't go to the bin, this scoreline blows out a lot more than what it is. 18-14, yes, it's only 4 points, but we're all over him going into this. I think they got 8 points, maybe 6, why Hargraves was in the bin. Now, I've got no issues with the Hargraves sin bin. He was warned. It was a massive hit. He had momentum for his team. He then went in and obviously threw his arm, through his head, whatever you want to say. He's rubbed his head into Nelson. He's obviously copped the 10 minutes. Obviously, Trent Robinson's post-game speech was he set the tone for the game. And now I don't condone what Jared did, but if you think to which team had the more experience in the halves, it's Munster, it's Hughes over Walker and Keary. So I think what Jared did here, although it almost cost us the game, he turned this game into a forwards battle. He took the pressure off our halves. He let them play the game. And he said, you know what? I'm going to belt anyone that comes near you. Nelson obviously grabbed Sam Verrills. Radley was the first one there going, nah, mate, we're not attacking our small players. We're going to defend them. So I think as a whole, it almost cost us the game. But what Jared did laid that foundation for us to win the game. Now, I think the most impressive thing for me, and it's come out in the post-game with Tedesco, is once Radley obviously got knocked out, I hope he's doing fine. Obviously, the NRL physio came out and said the convulsion doesn't actually mean that it was more injury or worse brain damage or whatever you want to call it. However, obviously, he's not named this weekend. The Roosters are going to obviously make sure he's good to go, but I can't see Radley sitting out the semi-final. Well, not the semi-final, the first knockout game next week. But
I have a think
obviously he went down. Yeah, obviously he went down. And Tedesco's comments in the post game was, we rallied the troops and said, if we have to defend our line for the next 8 minutes, we're going to defend our line for the next 8 minutes. And obviously they defended it for about 4 minutes. They held up. Can you remember who they held up? I can't remember his name. I'm having a mind blank. But they held some. Teddy obviously got underneath, held him up in the final few seconds.
I think maybe Kafusi. I wasn't really paying attention.
Whoever it was, obviously he holds him up. We get the ball off that. And then I don't think Storm got the ball again because obviously we had the penalty, went up the other end. We got the restart. So solid defense. Obviously 14 points against Melbourne. Nothing to be too upset about. And I think it just goes to show we were belting these teams. It's just the Tigers. It's just the Brisbane is in bad form. The Cowboys who had a one-off game, like we had those things, but now the Roosters have come in and gone, hold up, don't forget about us when we're talking about the premiership.
Yeah. Now with that Victor Radley 1 week, do you think 1 week is enough for a collision like that, to be taken off the field with, not talking about the convulsion afterwards, but the impact and the blow? Should just 1 week be enough? Because we look at other sports like boxing, if you get knocked out, you serve a 3-month ban from stepping back into the ring. So should it be all right? You go down 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe. Okay, we're just around the corner from the finals, but does someone's health come second to the type of game that we're about to play, or should we, as everybody wants to talk about, should someone's health come first?
Well, no, I think someone's health does come first. Now, I said Radley's not going to miss that game. I think if he is suffering from any concussions, those independent doctors and the Roosters doctors aren't going to let him play that game. Like they said, you've got to go for, I think it's a 7-day protocol. You've got to pass all those protocols. From what we're hearing, Radley's obviously smashed those protocols. They reckon he would have been good to go this week. The Roosters have said, no, listen, you're already in the top 8. We don't need you. We're going to look after your health. So I guess in an extent, you can't go as far as boxing because you could have 3 or 4, 5, 6 concussions and that could rule half your squad out for a whole, you know what I mean? It's a tough one, but I think if they can pass the protocols, the doctors are happy. I don't think it should just be the team's doctor. I think you need to get an independent doctor in there, assess him, do the scans. But I think if you can pass that 7-day protocol, I think you should be safe to go. And given the Roosters' history with obviously Friendy, Cordner, I think they're going to make the right decision by Rads. So I think he's in good hands. But I guess Baxter will move on, obviously, to Saturday's game because we are kind of dwelling on a little bit. We're up to the third game and we're 20 minutes in.
That's good. No, that's good. This is
the Raiders. The Raiders book their ticket into the top 8. They destroy Manly 48-6, 56% possession, 88% to 72 completion rate, 4 less errors, 700 extra running meters.
Yep.
Mate, this was a blowout. This was a team, and this is what I said about Brisbane when we did speak about them. They had no heart. They're soft. This is a team that said, let's put destiny into our own hands now. A win in their next game, they're through. Brisbane aren't catching them because then they're going to have to put 50 on the Dragons. Now, great game. They kept putting the scoreboard on. They wanted to make sure they had that for and against going into the final round. What were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, Raiders had it all laid out for them. They had the better for and against than the Broncos, but just not enough points. So they could have won it by 2 and still be in the top 8. But a good 48-6 at home is good. And they sent out Chad Nickel-Coolstar before he goes to the Warriors. A good little tribute haka there at the end of the game. It was great to see. Never back down, never back against Ricky, and we'll see him be this sort of dark horse coming into these final seasons.
Well, I mean, you say dark horse. I say if the Roosters finish 5th, they're gone in the first round. But that's obviously.
I don't have Roosters finishing 5th. I have Melbourne finishing 5th with Canberra traveling to.
Hold on. we're not going to jump into too many predictions right here. We'll talk about that obviously when we do get to the preview show. But obviously, great win by Raiders. First time in the top 8 since round 3, so it's absolutely massive. They know what their task's been, and like you said, as much as I'm confident with how the Roosters are playing, you never back away from a Ricky Stewart side. So it could be quite an interesting match, whether it's Melbourne, whether it's the Roosters, whether it's Parramatta, whether it's the Bunnies, whoever the Raiders play, they're going to be watching them and making sure that they cover their asses when it comes to that game. But moving into obviously the second game of that, it was the Sharks 16, the Bulldogs 0. And I think the stats here kind of tell a story. The Sharks were terrible. Now, 48% possession, 52, Bulldogs win. The Sharks only completed at 64%. They made 8 more errors and they only had 200 more meters. So if you're Craig Fitzgibbon, you're walking out of this game quite annoyed. But also, I guess if you look at the silver lining in this game, the Bulldogs didn't score any points. You played shit, the Bulldogs didn't score any points. You played shit, you still got the win. You played shit. How much more work do you now have to look at? You've got game film to fix. You've got all these things that you can fix moving into the finals.
Looking at this game, like I was really watching it because obviously, like this is from a Cowboys point of view, I needed obviously the Sharks to lose. So it wasn't that the Sharks really played poorly. I just think they've just been riding a high. They just needed a week where, into expression, they've been redlining. Like as a good redlining, they've been winning games and just playing off that momentum and defense. And they just needed a week where they sort of wheeled it back, because you don't want to come into the finals and sort of be out of gas and then, with where they sit, lose 2 games with a trot and it's early Mad Monday for you. So I think this is the game where they sort of gone, all right, we're being in 5th gear for 4 or 5 weeks. Let's just chuck it back to second. We'll just get it back right. And hey, you still won the game, 16-0. You can work on your hand. You can work on your errors and whatever you need to do. But it still shows you with less ball possession, you still put 16 points on the board compared to the Dogs of 0. So it wasn't really a terrible performance for the Sharks. I just think they just needed this sort of easing off the pedal, so to speak, and yeah.
But do you, and I'll ask you this question, I'll throw it back to you quite quickly and I'll give you my thoughts, which I already have. You put that 64% completion, you put that 48% possession against Panthers, Storm, Cowboys, Parramatta, Roosters. Do you win that game? I don't think you do. And I get what you're saying. They might have been in second gear, but this is a team and a game that they had to win.
I just think this is the team they're up against. I think it's just this is the week that they could afford to drop it back. Like if you had Sharks against Penrith this week, I don't see the stats the way they are. I see it I'd see it very closely.
But you can drop it back, but 64% completion. You don't need to play fancy football to hold on to the ball. I think that's the most concerning part here. 64% possession.
I think more they win games off the back of defense. So give the opposition more ball is fine by them. So it shows they held them out and they only scored 16. Like as I said, you could win by 100 points or you could win by 1. It's still going to get you those 2 points. So I think it's just the type of the opponent that they were versing this week. It just they could afford to sort of ease off and still get the 2 points and seal up second spot.
100%. Obviously, like you said, they did obviously still get the win. They do play Newcastle, so it'll be interesting this weekend to obviously see if they do have another pulled back game or if they do obviously go 100%. But we'll move straight on to the final game of Saturday. It's going to wipe a smile off your face a little bit. It was South Sydney 20. It was the Cowboys 10. This is a massive rivalry in your family. You lost this one, Baxter. But again, you're still ahead on the ladder. So talk to me through the game. It's quite even, but what were your thoughts?
Yeah, that's what I kept saying to him. I was like, "Hello down there, hello." It was a good game. There were some issues. I think our coach Toddy Payton did address that the NRL do need to look at. And I don't say South Sydney were breaking the rules. I'm not going to say that. I say across the whole 16 teams, where most teams have figured out how to bend the rule when it comes to the HIA protocol. You sort of get momentum in your favor, and all it takes is just a trainer to go out there and sort of do a HIA assessment and sort of bring it to all but a halt. And I think other teams have done it just as well. You're not breaking it because it is part of the game, so it is what it is. But there was a tackle with Taumalolo. He hits him around the rib section, and it caused a HIA. I just didn't know how that happened. Obviously, with the Campbell Graham incident, Hess comes in and they say there's a head clash. Now, when I first saw it, I was like, yep, okay. He looked a bit dazed out of it. They both should have gone off for a HIA, but then next minute Graham comes back on, and it's like, well, hold on. There was less than 15 minutes to go, so you can't really possibly be back on without doing your standard 15 minutes on the sideline via protocols. So it was a bit weird. So how does a player get charged for dangerous contact when the player itself doesn't really like?
Well, I'll go one further. I know what you're trying to say. I'll go one further, and we will get into it. I think it was Campbell in the Titans on the weekend. The ref said no penalty. He hit him across the chest, yet the doctor took him off for a HIA. So I think it goes both ways. It's a bit of a messed up rule, because obviously, how many times have we seen the team doctor go on and go, nah, he's good to go, and then a minute later, independent doctor goes, you're off. So
it was reported after the game as well. That South player, he admitted after the game that he felt dazed. So if he felt dazed, how does he stay on the field?
Well, I mean, if you pass the HIA test, if you pass tests, then if you pass that on-field test,
I don't see it. Like the independent doctor, I think, has sort of just seen players get hurt. With the Titans Campbell situation, he gets hit and he sort of stays down because he's hurt, but it looks like he has been sort of concussed, and then he's off for a HIA, and it's just like, well, how does that work? And I just think the NRL just sort of need to look at it a little bit in the off season, tweak it a little bit, and then just not even tell them, just sort of just go, all right, round one, this is the rule, boom, and that's it. Just give no club a chance to sort of look at it and tweak it their way, but it's always going to happen in our role. One team's going to look at the rule and tweak it their way. Another team's going to go, well, if it worked for that team, we will do it that way. And then by the end of it, you've got a tweaked rule, and then it's very far from the original idea of the rule. So I do think the NRL do need to look over. I'm not blaming South. It was a great win by South. I just think there was a few there that I think the ref with the bunker and the doctor just weren't on their game, or just were off that night. And it is what it is. We go down to third. Move on to next week.
I mean, I'm going to start calling Mr. Payton Mr. Klopp for you Premier League fans. We know whenever there's a loss, the Mr. Klopp comes up with an excuse. So, Mr. Payton, you're now known as the German NRL coach, Mr. Klopp. So, no, like you said, it's a bit of a 50-50 grey area rule. Obviously, we see it with everything. The 7 tackle set was brought in because teams were kicking the ball dead to stop the fullback running at them. The crusher tackle, that was all fixed up. They're almost all but gone. So hopefully the NRL can tweak it a little bit so that obviously we can get away from teams gaining an advantage. But like you said, if you're not breaking the rule and you can get away with it, it's one of those, why would I not take the advantage if someone else could take it instead of me? So it is an interesting one. A good win by Souths. They do book their ticket. It does mean that the Souths Roosters game at the SFS doesn't mean a team will miss out. They will both play finals football. So it's going to be a cracking game, but obviously we'll move on to Sunday. Congratulations, South Sydney fans. I feel sick saying that. But we'll move into the next game. It was the Tigers 22, the Dragons 24, and fuck me. This is why the Dragons did not make the top 8. They only just beat the Tigers. Was it a penalty? Yes. Did they deserve to lose? Yes. But fuck me, this was a shit game. Like, you honestly, the ball comes out of dummy half. No team had in any creative. It was almost like if I pass it to my right, maybe he'll go through to break and score. But I don't even want to talk about this too much. So I'm going to throw it straight to you. Congratulations, Dragon fans. You won. Congratulations, Ben Hunt. You probably got a few Dally M points here to wrap up that. But, mate, what a shit game. And two sides that really need to do a lot in the offseason.
For a shit game, pre-game, like I actually didn't even watch this game. I just saw the phone buzz with all the tries. And with Tigers leading, I think it was 22-4 or whatever it was at halftime, I was just like, huh? Did I even read that correctly, that the Tigers are winning? And then for a few, for 40 minutes later, I look at my phone and it says full time, Tigers 22. And I'm like, oh, okay, they must have won. Dragons 24. It was it was a game for to watch again. Like last week we had the Titans Eagles game. This week,
I would never watch this game again. I would never watch this game again.
Well, I'm glad I didn't watch this. I'm glad I didn't watch this, but you can scrap this one. It means nothing to the top 8, and yeah, let's just get to the next game. Just go. Just go.
Well, obviously, like you said, it means nothing towards the top 8, but this result added into the Titans 36-26 means a lot to that wooden spoon race. It means that the Tigers or but do win the wooden spoon. They can add it to the Center of Excellence kitchen. They can have a wooden spoon there, but the Titans, the Knights, it's a game that meant nothing in the grand scheme of things, but this was a game I sat back and I went, fuck me. For two shit teams, this was very entertaining. This was points galore, 36-26. If you look at the completion rate, minimal errors. Yes, okay, 73% completion for Newcastle sucks, but with only 9 errors, that's brilliant. It's close running meters. It was back and forth. It was a cracking game. Obviously, Newcastle, a lot of room to grow. You've got, obviously, new people in charge up there. Who knows if the coach sees the off-season. The Titans, you've got a young, experienced line. You bring Sam Verrills into that squad next year. He gives you a bit of speed from dummy half. I'm excited to watch these two teams grow, but what were your thoughts on these games and obviously, I guess, on these teams coming into next season?
Yeah, look, I just set my alarm for 10 minutes to 6 to watch the Matty John show, so I didn't even watch this game again. Another game I didn't care about the top 8, so I was just like, I got better things to do. Hats off to the Titans. You save yourself from another wooden spoon. Maybe Holbrook saves his job for next season. You get Sammy Verrills, you get Kieran Foran next year. Hopefully they can create more and push you higher up the ladder than second last. Look, Cowboys were second last last year. We bought a great halfback in now, and we're now sitting third. So maybe the Titans can do the same next year.
I don't know if the Titans will do that for a few years. I think let's just avoid the spoon. Let's walk towards that maybe 9th, maybe 8th, get knocked out in the first round. But I think it's a long way away from them being a top 4 side. But Baxter, obviously that has been round 24's preview. Thank you for joining me. And I look forward to obviously getting back on here, having a chat about the games coming up because it's round 25. It is the final round. And I'm